Okay, so in this video, I am going to do a partial playthrough of the 1981 World Series between the New York Yankees and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Now, what do I mean by a partial playthrough? Well, what I decided to do was I'm going to pick this World Series up halfway through game number 6. Now, to first give you a little bit of background about that World Series, obviously the Dodgers won that World Series in 6 games. The Yankees had won the first 2 games in New York, and then um, that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in Los Angeles, the Dodgers won 3 straight. The Friday night game was the Valenzuela game where he went all the way for a 5-4 win when he beat Righetti. And the Sunday game, the Game 5 game between Jerry Royce and Ron Guidry, that was really one of the really great pitching duels, really in that time in World Series history. I mean, go back and watch that game on YouTube. That was just a great game pitched by two excellent pitchers in their day. So the Dodgers went back to New York up 3 games to 2. Now, why am I picking up the World Series here? Well, for those of you who may not remember, in that game, the score was tied 1-1 in the bottom half of the fourth inning. And Yankee manager Bob Lemon made kind of what was looked at as a little bit of a controversial decision when he decided to pinch hit Bobby Mercer with 2 men on and 2 out, uh, taking Tommy John out of the game and handing the rest of the game off to the Yankee bullpen. And that Yankee bullpen, you could go back and check the stats. George Frazier and Ron Davis were not having a particularly great series. Now, if you do go back and watch that game, they'll mention how Bobby Mercer had really good numbers against the Dodgers starter that day, Bert Hooton. And Bobby Mercer flew out to end that fourth inning. And then in the top half of the fifth inning, the Dodgers were able to open up the floodgates. To George Frazier's defense, that inning started off with a couple of bleeders and a couple of bloops. But anyway, long story short, the Dodgers were able to open the game up, win game number 6, 9-2, and take home the World Series championship. So what I decided to do, just for a little bit of fun here, I decided to pick the game up in the bottom half of the fourth inning with Greg Nettles on second base. He had a 1-out double, and then with 1 out, Rick Cerone struck out, and Larry Milbourne was intentionally walked. So, and you could see here on my play-by-play sheet, what I have labeled here was where the game stood up until that point. So I just followed the play-by-play. You can see the Dodgers tied the game in the top half of the fourth inning. What the heck the Yankees were doing pitching to Steve Yeager with first and second and 2 out and the pitcher up next, I got no idea. But anyway, the Dodgers tied the game in the top of the fourth. Bottom four, Watson out, Nettles double, Cerrone strikeout, Larry Milbourne intentionally walked, and Bobby Mercer came up, flew out to semi-deep right field. And the rest, as they say, is history. But as we all know, one of the reasons why we play Strat-O-Matic is in some ways to kind of make our own history. So what I decided to do was to pick the game up right there. And I did keep score of the game like I normally do, but I also kept a little running tab to share with you. So we'll kind of go through the play by play here real quick. And probably the big reason why I sat down to do this real quick, because I have always wondered what would have happened in a game 7 had we had that dream matchup of the two rookie of the years pitching in a game 7 with Fernando Valenzuela and Dave Righetti. That would have been a pretty cool matchup. So let's see if we can get us there. So picking it up in the bottom half of the fourth inning, Tommy John flies out. All right, and these are my results now. Okay, so we go to the top of the fifth. Davey Lopes leads off with a single, steals second. Bill Russell sack bunt, Lopes to third. With the infield in, Garvey grounds out. Then Ron Say draws a 2-out walk, and Dusty Baker makes out. So halfway through, 4.5 innings in, the game is tied at 1. So that right then and there, I'm doing a lot better off than the 81 Yankees were, because I believe after 4.5, after they brought Frazier into the game, I think the Red Sox, I think the, excuse me, I think the Dodgers scored 4 runs in that 5th inning to make it 5-1, but I have to double check that. But anyway, we go to the bottom of the 5th. Yankees go 1-2-3. Randolph, Mumphrey, Winfield. We go to the top of the 6th. Again, 1-2-3. Pedro, Monday, and Yeager. Bottom 6, again, I go 1-2-3. Jackson, Watson, Nettles. So not much offense going on right now. So we go to the top half of the 7th inning in a 1-1 game. Tommy John is still out there, mind you. Now, this is where I had a little bit of a decision to make, because I had the pitcher spot leading off the 7th inning for the Dodgers, and I'd already gotten 6 really good innings out of Bert Hooton. Well, technically, I only got 2 innings out of Bert Hooton, but anyway, Bert Hooton had already gone 6 innings. His point of weakness is the 6th inning, even though he was not in his point of weakness. I was approaching that. And for those of you who don't know, to actually get to a point of weakness, you have to have batters reach base without either errors or intentional walks. So I was just kind of thinking here, top of the 7th inning, I got Alejandro Pena and Steve Howe sitting in the bullpen after having a day off the day before, because Game 5 was Sunday. This was a Tuesday night. So I figured I got a fully rested bullpen, so let me see if I can make something happen. So I pinch hit Steve Sachs for Bert Hooton. He singles to lead off the inning. Then Davey Lopes walks. So I've got first and second, nobody out. So right then and there, I pull Tommy John and I bring in Ron Davis. So the first batter that Ron Davis faces, Bill Russell, sack bunt. So we got Sachs on third and Lopes on second. And with the infield in, Steve Garvey gets a 2 RBI single. Now, for those of you who play Strat-O-Matic, when the infield is in, if you hit a ground ball A plus, it's a single 2 asterisks, which means it's a single. Everyone advances 2 bases. But this was not that. This was a clean single 2 asterisk on Steve Garvey's card. So even though having the infield in there was the right call, that didn't affect that particular play. It was a single 2 asterisks roll on Steve Garvey's card. So the Dodgers have a 3-1 lead. Ron Say walks. So with first and second and 1 out in a 3-1 game, Dodgers are leading. Baker flies out. Pedro Guerrero strikes out. So since Pedro made the last out of the inning, I decided to double switch. Steve Howe comes into the game for Guerrero, and Ken Landreau enters the game for Steve Sachs. So Ken Landreau is playing center field. So we go to the bottom half of the 7th with the Dodgers leading 3-1. And finally, I was able to finally get something going with the 81 Yanks. Now, I can tell you, I played lots of times with the 81 Yanks, and the 81 Yanks have a really, really good pitching staff. John Righetti and Guidry all have terrific cards. Rick Russell also had a pretty good card that year. The bullpen, Gossage's card that year was incredible. Ron Davis's and George Frazier's cards were just okay, but the offense was really lacking on the 81 Yanks. The offense was a little rough. But anyway, bottom of the 7th, we get leadoff single by Cerrone, and then Larry Milbourne gets a single. So I've got first and second and nobody out with the pitcher spot coming up. So what I decided to do is I pinch hit Lou Piniella. And Piniella is a C bunting, and I'm down 2 runs. So I'm kind of thinking, I was like, well, I could bunt and play for 1 run and maybe get 2 in if I get a hit, or I could maybe sit back and maybe get a big inning going here. Pinella's card against left-handed pitching was really, really solid that year. So I decided to let Piniella hit. He grounds into a double play. So I got Rick Cerrone on third base with 2 outs. Randolph gets a single That scores Rick Cerrone. So now the score is 3-2. No chance of me trying to steal second with Randolph because Steve Howe is a -5 hold and Steve Yeager has a minus arm. So the odds of getting a stolen base there were not that great. So Randolph sits on first base and Jerry Mumphrey makes out to end the seventh inning. So we go to the eighth inning. The Dodgers lead is now 3-2. I double switch here. Goose Gossage is into the game for Mumphrey, and Lou stays in the game playing left field, hitting ninth, and I move Dave Winfield to center field. So at this point, I'm actually feeling pretty good, even though I only got one run in that seventh inning. I am feeling pretty good here because it is the top of the eighth. I got Goose in the game. Um, and Steve Howe is already in the game, and he's only a two-inning reliever. So by the time we get to his third inning, he'll be in his point of weakness. So we'll see what happens there. But anyway, top eight, Dodgers go 3 up, 3 down. Bottom half of the eighth inning, Winfield leadoff single. Jackson two asterisk single. So Winfield is on third. So I got first and third, nobody out. Bob Watson, pop out. Greg Nettles, strikeout. Rick Cerrone, strikeout. So there I let a terrific scoring opportunity fall off to the side. So we go to the top of the ninth, 3-2 Dodgers. Not much happened in the top of the ninth. Lopes out, Russell out, Garvey walks, and Ron Say makes out. So we go to the bottom half of the ninth inning. Dodgers have a 3-2 lead. So, leading off that inning, I got Larry Milbourne, and people may remember Milbourne took over for Bucky Dent. I think Bucky broke his foot or something like that about halfway through the year. Something I remember it was something with his leg, but anyway, the Yankees got Milbourne, and Milbourne really hit really well for them, and he really has a really good card. Uh, Milbourne leads that bottom of the ninth inning off with a double. So here I got a runner on second base and nobody out, and Lou Piniella coming up. Now in this situation, I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm down one run. Piniella is a C bunting, which means the odds of him getting the runner over, it's not like a rock solid guarantee he's going to get the runner over to third. He's not like an A bunting or even a B bunting, but a C bunting is pretty good. So I decide to play it safe, and he does get down the bunt, and Milbourne is on third with one out. So Dodgers bring in the infield. Willie Randolph, ground ball A, infield in, runner holds. So now I have Milbourne. Well, I still have Milbourne on third, but now there are two out with the pitcher spot coming up. So I pinch hit A-Rod. Yep, Aurelio Rodriguez, who really had a pretty incredible card against left-handed pitching that year. So I'm actually still feeling pretty good so long as I can roll his card. But no dice. He grounds out, and the Los Angeles Dodgers win game number 6, 3-2. So sorry, everyone. I was not able to get to my dream matchup of a game 7 between the 81 Dodgers and the 81 Yankees with Fernando Valenzuela and Dave Righetti on the mound.